Hey everybody, I'm in Bozeman, Montana, and I'm just going to introduce Alecia Jongeward, who is kind of the antidote to the nihilism I talked about in the last video. I interviewed myself, I guess. She, over many years as a teacher, helped support a whole group of students, starting with recycling to raising tens of thousands of, almost over $100,000 to help put solar panels on their school, to then getting federal grants for electric school buses. I interviewed her right here in the park, and I'll let you decide. But I think what she's talking about is a truly hope-inspiring direction that the country could be taking thanks to students. I think Ellie agrees.
I'm not a public school teacher anymore. I work with two different nonprofits in Livingston, Montana, one of which is called Montana Freshwater Partners, and I run the Give Back to the Yellowstone campaign, which my main role is outreach and education around the river and the all things Yellowstone River.
Yeah.
And then my other role is I work with the Conservation Leadership Program with Park County Environmental Council. And particularly I work with youth and young people and climate.
So this is fitting because I was in Yellowstone and I did a little video about nihilism to me and undermine my ability to see optimism and see our way out of this problem, right? You were telling me about the students that you work with.
In 2017, they started recycling, and they were doing all the actual recycling themselves because it needed to happen. And from there, one of the students one day was just like, I saw this grant that I can write to plan getting solar panels for our school. I was like, absolutely not. That's going to take up so much extra time. And she wrote it and she got it. So the first $6,000 came from the DEQ.
You were saying no and she was saying yes.
And so we were locked in. And after that, it just was, because I was a teacher in the school, I got to do independent studies with students, and so teaching them how to look for and apply for different grants. And actually Northwest Energy was our biggest grant. We got what's called a USB grant from them. It also made it so that we couldn't have more than one solar panel system on the entire school property. So we had to remove a solar panel system that was already there. And that's a whole nother story, I guess. Presenting on all sorts of levels in front of CEOs of the mining companies, but then also a retired group of women on the Park High Green Initiative.
Park High, and how long did it take you to do this?
Oh gosh, we probably started in 2018. We started fundraising for them.
And when did you get enough to put in the panels?
And the solar panels were installed for the 2020-2021 school year.
So this is, some kids are graduating and some kids are coming in and they're just keeping up with it.
Yeah.
And this is the same club that got the school buses?
So the first we did recycling, then we did the solar panels, and this is all intermittent, every day or monthly, and local events, right? So we're hosting Earth Day events and farmers market, plastic free, and stuff like that. And still we still monitor those at every farmers market every week. So it went recycling, solar panels, the Youth Climate Summit. So 2020, the 2021-2022 school year, when they were trying to figure out what they wanted, they were like, we want to go to a climate summit and be around like-minded kids somewhere else. And so I looked into it of where we could go, and the closest youth climate summit that I could get my students in rural Montana around other like-minded students was in Southern California.
Okay.
And so I told them that, and they were like, oh, bummer, we're going to have to do it. And I was like, wait, what?
They just dig in every time.
Yeah, and so we raised about $45,000-$50,000 to host the 2023 Montana Youth Climate Summit in Livingston. And just like a normal summit, like conference, we had breakout sessions, we had keynote speakers, a panel there that was a Held versus the State of Montana panel with...
So if I can interrupt, Held versus Montana is the students suing the state of Montana, saying that the state of Montana is not protecting them against climate change, which they argue is required in the state constitution is to protect their health, right?
Yeah.
They've covered, these students over like the last 6 or 7 years have covered a lot. I assume the school buses are going to be delivered soon, and they were awarded, but it's not been delivered yet.
Yep.
And we have those in Arizona, by the way. We've had some school buses delivered to some schools, and some that have been awarded but not yet delivered.
Yeah.
If I could,
same here.
Yeah, so we're all on pretty much the same timeline for some of these new, right? So if I could, I'm really interested in what keeps these students going, because these are, within a society, relatively powerless people, right? Up against a lot of obstacles. So tell me a little bit about what drives them and what's their motivating kind of philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes into my mind when you ask that question is we were giving public comment to the DEQ last fall, and one of my students, one of their main things that they said was just I'm not old enough to vote. I don't really have a voice in a lot of the decision making, but right here, right now, you have to take my public comment. This is the most I can do, and I'm going to keep doing the most that I can do until I can't anymore, until I can start voting. And so what keeps them going is it's this is going to be her Montana longer than it's going to be my Montana, longer than it's going to be any of the other legislators' Montana. And so she sees what she has right now, and she's holding and gripping onto that and making sure that in the future that she's still going to be able to put her body in the Yellowstone River, something that you can't do in most rivers in the Midwest.
Right.
She wants to make sure that she doesn't have to deal with the incredible smoke that we have here today, so that she can continue to hike mountains for as long as she can. So during an interview where someone asked something fairly similar, was just what keeps you going? And she thought about it for a second, and she was sure her answer was that she has this enraged optimism.
Enraged optimism
that keeps her going. Yeah, that is that fire inside of her that is giving her that motivation.
Finding that enraged optimism, and what a great group of people to learn that from.
The youth that are a part of this movement need to be listened to so much more, because they are more than I was as a teenager. They are more knowledgeable, they have more drive, they have more enraged optimism, and rightfully so. But that optimism is still there, and so that's what we can't let go of. We have to make sure that that's what we're listening for.
That is a perfect final thought. Thanks for taking part of your day to come meet me today.
Yeah, for sure.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.